It began quietly, almost innocuously, in the lesser-known corners of the internet. The year was 2009. A website called Something Awful hosted a Photoshop contest. The challenge? To create paranormal images. One user, Eric Knudsen, known by his pseudonym Victor Surge, answered that call. He digitally manipulated 2 black-and-white photographs. He inserted a tall, unnaturally thin figure, faceless and dressed in a dark suit, lurking in the background of scenes with children. These weren't just pictures, they were seeds. Seeds of a story that would grow far beyond anyone's imagination, taking root in the fertile ground of online forums. Knudsen didn't stop at images. He added cryptic captions, hinting at a dark presence. He wrote of child abductions, of a sinister entity known only as the Slender Man. The figure was described as unnervingly tall, often with tentacle-like appendages. His face, or lack thereof, was a blank canvas for fear. This wasn't a pre-existing legend unearthed, it was born digital, a modern folktale crafted pixel by pixel. The initial posts were simple, yet they possessed an eerie magnetism. They invited others to contribute, to expand the mythos, to build upon the terrifying foundation that Knudsen had laid out for all to see. The concept of Slender Man spread like wildfire across the digital landscape. What started on one forum soon jumped to others. Creepypasta sites dedicated to user-generated horror stories became his new haunting grounds. People added their own narratives, their own artwork, their own supposed encounters. The lore deepened. Slender Man became associated with forests, with stalking his victims, often children, driving them to madness before their ultimate disappearance. This collaborative storytelling, a hallmark of internet culture, allowed the Slender Man myth to evolve rapidly, becoming more detailed, more complex, and undeniably more frightening with each new contribution from an anonymous online author. This was not ancient folklore passed down through generations by word of mouth. This was something new, a digital boogeyman, crowdsourced into existence. His origins were traceable, yet he felt ancient, tapping into primal fears of the unknown, the watcher in the shadows. The internet provided the perfect ecosystem for such a creature to thrive. It offered anonymity, a global reach, and a platform where fiction could be presented as fact, blurring the lines for those who stumbled upon it. The question soon became, could a creature born of pixels and code have an impact in the real world? The answer, tragically, would prove to be yes. The date was May 31st, 2014, a date that would forever be linked with the Slender Man myth. In Waukesha, Wisconsin, a quiet suburban town, something truly horrific was about to unfold. Two 12-year-old girls, Morgan Geyser and Anissa Wire, lured their friend, Peyton Leutner, also 12, into a nearby wooded area. What Peyton believed to be a game, a playful outing with friends, would quickly turn into a fight for her very life. The motivation behind their actions was as chilling as it was unbelievable. They were acting, they claimed, on behalf of Slender Man. This internet phantom had seemingly crossed a terrible threshold. Geyser and Wire had become deeply enmeshed in the online lore of Slender Man. They believed he was real. They believed that by committing a violent act, a sacrifice, they could become his proxies, his servants. They thought this would protect their families from his wrath and grant them access to his mythical mansion, supposedly hidden deep within the Nicolet National Forest. Peyton Leutner was stabbed an astonishing 19 times. Left for dead in those woods, she miraculously found the strength to crawl to a nearby path where a cyclist discovered her, clinging to life. The community was stunned. How could children do this? The ensuing investigation and trials brought the dark influence of the Slender Man myth into stark national focus. The girls were charged with attempted first-degree intentional homicide. Their defense centered on their profound belief in this fictional character, arguing they were not criminally responsible due to mental disease or defect, influenced by the pervasive online narratives. The case highlighted the vulnerability of young minds to such immersive, dark online content. It wasn't just a story anymore, it was a motive, a justification for an act of brutal violence that left a young girl fighting for her survival and a nation grappling with difficult questions. The Waukesha stabbing served as a terrifying wake-up call. It demonstrated in the most visceral way how digital narratives, however fantastical, can shape beliefs and incite real-world actions. The lines between the virtual world and tangible reality had not just blurred for these two girls, they had seemingly been erased entirely by the compelling nature of the Slender Man legend. The incident forced parents, educators, and law enforcement to confront the potential dangers lurking within unfiltered online spaces, where myths can take on a terrifying life of their own, with devastating consequences for those who cannot distinguish fiction from a dangerous fantasy. What is it about figures like Slender Man that can grip the imagination so tightly, especially that of young, impressionable individuals? Psychologists and folklorists point to several factors. Urban legends, even modern digital ones, often tap into deep-seated human fears. The fear of the unknown, of being watched, of forces beyond our control. Slender Man, with his blank face and silent stalking, embodies these anxieties perfectly. He is a void onto which individuals can project their deepest dreads. The internet then acts as a powerful amplifier for these nascent beliefs, creating communities around them. The internet fosters a unique environment where collective belief can flourish. On forums and social media, individuals find others who share their interpretations of the Slender Man myth, reinforcing their own convictions. Shared evidence, often fabricated, like doctored photos or fictional historical accounts, further legitimizes the legend in the eyes of believers. This digital echo chamber can make it difficult for some, particularly adolescents who are still developing critical thinking skills and forming their identities, to distinguish between elaborate fiction and credible reality. The constant exposure and peer validation can cement a belief system that seems unshakable from within its confines. The Waukesha case, while extreme, illustrates a potential psychological vulnerability. The concept of folie à deux, or shared psychosis, though not formally the diagnosis in this specific case, touches upon how intense delusional beliefs can be shared and reinforced between individuals, especially in isolated or close-knit relationships. The girls in Waukesha had created their own micro-reality, one where Slender Man was an omnipotent figure demanding fealty. The internet provided the script and the stage for their tragic performance, feeding their shared delusion until it spilled over into horrific action against an innocent friend. Experts suggest that the very nature of Slender Man's creation, collaborative and ever-evolving, makes him particularly insidious. There's no single author, no definitive canon to debunk. He exists in the spaces between stories, in the fear he generates. This amorphous quality makes him a powerful psychological construct. For those seeking meaning or power in a confusing world, or for those struggling with underlying mental health issues, such a figure can offer a dark allure, a sense of purpose, or an explanation for inexplicable feelings of dread or anxiety, ultimately leading down a perilous path. The Slender Man phenomenon did not fade away after the Waukesha stabbing. If anything, the incident catapulted the myth into even wider cultural awareness. The story became a staple of news reports, true crime documentaries, and discussions about internet safety. HBO's 2017 documentary, Beware the Slender Man, delved deep into the Waukesha case, exploring the origins of the myth, the psychological profiles of the girls involved, and the profound impact on the victim and the community. This kind of media attention, while often aiming to be cautionary, also inevitably further embeds the figure into the cultural lexicon, ensuring his continued recognition. Beyond documentaries, Slender Man has permeated various forms of popular media, solidifying his status as a modern horror icon. He became the antagonist in popular independent video games like Slender: The 8 Pages and its sequels, which terrified players with their minimalist design and jump scares. Feature films, though often critically panned, attempted to bring his chilling presence to the big screen. Each new iteration, each new piece of media, reinterprets and often amplifies the core elements of the legend. The silent stalking, the faceless dread, the ambiguous motives, keeping the myth alive and evolving for new audiences to discover and fear. The cultural significance of Slender Man extends beyond mere entertainment. He serves as a potent symbol of the anxieties of the digital age. He represents the way information, or misinformation, can spread uncontrollably online, and how virtual creations can have very real and sometimes very dangerous consequences. Folklorists see parallels between Slender Man and older folk tales, boogeymen created to explain the inexplicable or to caution against certain behaviors. In our time, he perhaps embodies fears of anonymity online, the loss of childhood innocence in a hyper-connected world, and the unseen forces that might influence vulnerable minds. Ultimately, the saga of Slender Man offers a stark reflection on the power of digital narratives. It highlights how quickly a fictional concept, born from a simple online contest, can morph into a globally recognized myth capable of inspiring profound belief and, in rare tragic instances, horrific actions. His story compels us to consider the responsibility that comes with creating and consuming content online. It underscores the critical importance of media literacy and the ability to discern fiction from reality, especially for young people navigating an increasingly complex digital world. Slender Man's shadow lingers, a reminder of the stories we tell and the very real impact they can have.